This video, we're going to explore how to actually cache out simulations so they play back this fast. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have an important announcement I want to make. Started a Discord server where you can actually come in and find all the up-to-date information, communicate with some of the other artists that I get to work with, as well as some other students who are learning how to become visual effects artists. You can come in if you're a 2D artist, a modeling artist, a previs artist, it doesn't matter, and I'll be growing this over time. You can submit your work and get feedback. And this is brand spanking new, and it's going to be growing. And it's devoted to helping you guys become a better artist so that you guys can be passionate about this industry. With that said, today we're going to be talking about how to create a top net. I have a small little scene that I have actually taken into Tops, a network where you can actually set up caches in sequence in order to cache out your files much faster. And in this case, you'll notice all I need to do is just read from this one cache node, and we are playing back really fast. To put in perspective, if I were to turn off this cache node, so let's go ahead and disable it, and you will see, obviously I have this cache, but the moment it hits right here, it's going to start to chug because it's having to fire through every single one of these nodes right here that I have created. So let's go ahead and take a look at this and how we could set up our own. So to get started, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come into this top net here, hit save, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete all of these. I'm going to start afresh. Let's go ahead and go back to the first frame. Now, in here, I have all of these lab file cache nodes already set up. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come in here, I'm going to delete them all, and we're going to create our own. So let's, I got that one, I got that one, there's one more, I believe. Yeah, here it is. Cool. So again, if I were to come in here now and just hit play, this sim isn't too intense to where it won't play at full speed, so that's why it works for this tutorial. But let's go ahead and set this up. So what I have is I just have this add node, replicated some points here. I used some parameters here to animate, and then I clipped them to the ground, so they have this. Added some velocities, so we'll say set vel. And then we threw this into a pop net to create this little explosion effect. And now let's say, okay, we got this simulation here. Let's go ahead and cache it. So what I can do is drop a labs file cache node. And if you look at this is a simulation from 0 to 100 frames or 1 to 100 frames. That's already set up here. And the simulation box is checked on. If I go to scheduling, I won't be able to do the one batch at a time option because the simulation is currently clicked on. But what I can do is say, hey, I want to use 8 of my CPUs to cache this out. I don't need that many. And the CPU count to use is a quarter of the total count equals 4. So that's what my computer is set up to do. So we'll just say CPUs per batch. This will work fine, especially considering that I have this set up to render, or I will have this set up to render in sequence. But before I do anything else, I want to give this a name. So we're going to call this pop sim. And let's just add in a $OS here so that we can put it in a folder. And then over here, we have this hat icon. So let's go ahead and click on this hat icon. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a top file cache node. So if we back up and we go into our top net, you'll notice we get this pop sim cache. And it's currently flagged as the output. I don't want that. I actually want this to go through its own output. So I'm going to create an output node. And I'm going to flag that. And we can call this final cache out. It's not that important, really. It's just so that Tops knows where the sequence ends. This is just a scheduler. Don't delete it. You're going to need this, but you don't have to touch it. All right, let's move on. Let's create a new cache here. So I'm not even going to cache this yet. Let's just come down, and we have a few things happen. We set some attributes here, some velocities, and some volume attributes that we'll need. And here we go. We've got this. And if anybody's ever worked for Pyro for 5 minutes, will know that these can be very intense on your computer. And as you can see, we're already starting to chug, and I'm not even simulating yet. So let's go ahead and create a new labs file cache node. And we'll notch that in. Let's call this one Pyro Attributes. And since this one's not a simulation, I can turn off the simulation here. And you'll notice when I go to scheduling, the frames per batch gets turned on. I'm actually going to leave that on. I want it to do 10 frames per batch just to showcase how that works. I'll leave the CPUs per batch off for this one. Let's go ahead and add in the $OS here, and let's go ahead and create this node. Let's go back up, top net, and you'll see there it is. And what I can do is just follow the sequence that's happening in my scene. So since I need to do the particle sim before the pyro, I'm going to do it here. Now, I could technically do this. So we can do a merge node. And if I put this down here, we can merge them in, and this merge node will actually sim both of these at the exact same time. I don't want that to happen because they're already in the same tree. I don't need them to sim next to each other. It would actually be a waste of time. I'd be simming essentially this twice. So let's sim 1 and let's sim 2. And so I'll put that in the tree like so. I want to set up one more for my scene. That'll make this a lot faster. So after the pyro solver, I'm going to throw in a labs file cache node. And we'll call this one sim explosion. And this one is a simulation, so we'll leave it on sim. Let's go ahead and add in a $OS. I'm not going to touch any of the settings here for this one. So we'll just set that as $OS. And we'll come up here and hit the create tops node. And just like we did before, let's go ahead and put that in sequence right here at the bottom. And my output is flagged. So let's go look at the top net. So if I go up to and look at the top net, you'll see that we have some parameters here. There really isn't a lot to use here. And you'll notice my local scheduler right there is the default scheduler. So we technically could change how it is scheduled, but by default, this local scheduler is going to set it up to render like this or to cache like this. So we don't really want to touch it. I honestly never touch this myself. I really just let this go. So, but the buttons I really want you guys to pay attention to are up here. So we have generate static work items, which is useful if you just need to create static work items so that you can see what you're working on and whatever frame you're on. This is good for pyro when you're doing look dev and you don't want to cache the whole thing out. Then you have the cook output node, which means it will cook this node here, which will force these ones to fire in sequence. And then we have dirty all. What dirty all will do is, let's say I've actually done some caching here. Let's say I have 2 nodes here that I've cached, but then in my actual SOP node, I actually have changed some parameters here and I need to redo them. Well, unlike the regular cache node, the topnet doesn't know when you've made parameters. It's going to stick with those if you have it in sequence. So you'll have to come in here and hit dirty all. And basically that means is redo those nodes so that when you come and cook the output node, it knows to refire those lab file caches. So let's go ahead and cook and see what happens. So, and you'll notice now that this topnet has finished all the way down to this output node. So if I go up, I have already taken the opportunity to enable this, but just know that if you come up here under the sim, you'll notice that this is still going to play back fairly slow. I put in a pyro bake volume so we can see this. And the issue is it's actually going off of still your internal cache right here. To fix this, all I have to do is just come over here to the sim explosion and load your lowest cache. If you want to load from up here, that's fine too, but you really only need your lowest cache. And now it should play back relatively fast. And there you go. There is your topnet at work. In a later video, we'll actually explore how to use the topnet even for rendering so that we can open up our files and just fire a render. Let me know if you guys find this useful for your workflows. I love sharing these little easy techniques for you guys out there so that you can be faster and more efficient and you understand how to actually work in a production setting and environment. Don't forget to check out my Discord server. It's brand new. I'm starting it up and I'm rolling it out as of today. Come in and you'll find a community that is focused on helping you become a better artist. That's my hope, that's my desire, and that's my dream. And until next time, always be creating.